This short video is going to show you how to create an organizational structure for the content that your students will be seeing in Brightspace. So right now I'm in the content area and I'm going to click on New Unit. And so think of units as your top level folders. So I'm just going to call this week 1. I'm going to make it visible, save and close. And I'm going to do a couple other quick top level folders. I'll just call this week 2. Make it visible, save and close. And one more. Big surprise, week 3. So depending on how you teach, you might want some sub-level folders. And so for example, if I go to week 1 right here, and it's like I can just start adding content if I want to, but if I have a lot of content to add, it might be better if I create these folders in advance. And so when I have week 1 highlighted right here, I'm going to click on Create New. And one way that you might want to think about this is I've seen some people, like if they're teaching a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class or a Tuesday, Thursday, they might actually have a subfolder with Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if that's the case, I'm going to click on New Lesson and think of lessons as a subfolder. And I'm just going to call this Monday, make it visible, save and close. And I'm going to click on week 1 again. And I'm going to create another subfolder called Wednesday. And if I was on a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, obviously I could do that Tuesday, Thursday, and I could keep replicating that structure. And so then I could put content in either, Monday or Wednesday, assignments, things of that nature. If I wanted to create another structure that I've seen people do sometimes is, I'm just going to use week 2 as an example. I might create another subfolder and call this assignments. Make sure it's visible, save and close. And under week 2, instead of assignments, I might have another subfolder, and maybe I'll call that, I could call it handouts, class materials, etc. Readings, PowerPoints, whatever makes sense to you. And so creating that structure ahead of time, it'll help you as you add the content, the PowerPoints, the web links and other things, your assignments into that structure if you create that ahead of time. So one little trick that might help with structure is, I deleted a couple of those other weeks right here, but what if I just really wanted to replicate this week 1 structure, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, class schedule, and I wanted to do that 12 times, 13 times, whatever you needed. And so I could create them one by one. Easier way to do it is if I go to Course Admin, if I go to Course Builder, and so here's my week 1, and I can open that up and I see Monday, Wednesday right there. If I want to copy that structure, I can copy that, and then where do I want to paste it? I want to paste it after, and I can paste that again. Etc. And I could rename them here if I wanted to, or if I go back to content, I'm going to see week 1 replicated here, but now I just have to rename that as week 2. and the other one as week 3. And you see how that goes. And that can save you a lot of time when you need to replicate structure. And so I highly suggest creating that organizational structure first before you start adding content. Thank you and have a good day.